On December 14th, 2010, one of the most iconic casinos on the Las Vegas Strip became the scene of a brazen robbery. A man walked onto the casino floor of the Bellagio wearing a black motorcycle helmet, pulled out a handgun, and stole roughly $1.5 million in high-value casino chips in under 2 minutes. But the real shock was not the robbery. It was what happened after the heist. Las Vegas has always played to the fantasy. Neon lights splashed across the desert, marble lobbies echoing with the sound of chips, and a sense that anything, absolutely anything, could happen before sunrise. For decades, Hollywood has made the Strip its favorite playground for heist stories, a place where a clever thief can outsmart the cameras, slip past security, and disappear with a fortune. The city invites this myth. Films like Ocean's 11 and Casino have turned the casino floor into a stage where risk is glamorous and every player believes, if only for a moment, that the odds can be beaten. But the real Las Vegas is a different animal. Beneath the spectacle, the city is built on layers of control. Every inch of the Bellagio is watched by hundreds of cameras, monitored in real time by teams trained to spot the smallest anomaly. Security staff blend into the crowd, moving with purpose but never drawing attention. The walls and ceilings are lined with hidden eyes, and the chips themselves are more than just colorful tokens. They are the casino's own currency, tracked and guarded with a precision that rivals any bank. Still, the legend of the perfect casino robbery lingers. News coverage after the Bellagio heist leaned into the script. Headlines called it a Hollywood-style caper, a daring getaway on a motorcycle. Reporters compared the masked gunman to movie anti-heroes, painting him as a mysterious figure who managed to outwit the system. The city itself became part of the story, cast as both the backdrop and the accomplice, a place where rules are bent, and the line between fantasy and reality fades under the glow of the Strip. Yet for all its allure, Las Vegas is not a film set. The Bellagio was never designed for cinematic drama, but for relentless surveillance and loss prevention. The mythology of the casino heist ignores the cold math behind every roll of the dice. It glosses over the fact that casino chips are not stacks of cash waiting to be spent, but tightly controlled assets, each one logged, scanned, and watched from the moment it leaves the vault. The city's real gamble is not whether someone can pull off the perfect crime, but whether anyone can escape the systems built to catch them. In the days after the robbery, the gap between the Hollywood version and the real Las Vegas became impossible to ignore. The story that started as a spectacle quickly turned into a case study in how the fantasy of easy money collides with the hard reality of casino security. The Bellagio may look like a stage, but for anyone who tries to beat it, the script rarely ends as planned. Casino chips are not money. They look like it, stacked in neat towers, traded in the open, clattering across green felt, but each one is a closed-loop token, valuable only within the boundaries of the casino that issued it. The Bellagio's chips, especially the high-denomination ones, are designed for a world where every movement is tracked, every exchange scrutinized. Before a single chip hits the table, it passes through layers of inspection, ultraviolet reactive inks, micro-printed serial numbers, and, for the highest values, embedded RFID tags. Each chip's journey is logged, its serial number tied to a digital record in the casino's inventory system. Unlike cash, chips require validation at every step. Pit bosses carry handheld scanners to read RFID signatures, while cashiers run each high-value chip through ultraviolet and magnetic checks before a payout. If a chip's code does not match the Bellagio's database, alarms go off, sometimes quietly, sometimes with the full force of the resort's security response. The system is designed to make stolen chips nearly impossible to cash out. Even the most skilled counterfeiters rarely get past the first checkpoint. Behind the scenes, the Bellagio's security operation runs like a command center. Hundreds of cameras feed into a central surveillance room where trained specialists monitor overlapping angles of every table, hallway, and exit. The network is so dense that the same scene is often recorded from 3 or 4 perspectives at once, creating a digital map of every movement on the casino floor. Security officers are drilled to respond within seconds, blending into the crowd until they need to act. If a chip goes missing, the system can trace its last known location, flag its serial number, and push an alert to every casino in Nevada within minutes. The logic is simple. A chip outside the Bellagio is worthless unless it can be brought back and exchanged for cash. But to do that, it has to pass through a gauntlet of security checks, any one of which can expose a thief. After the robbery, the Bellagio's security team did not just look for a masked gunman. They watched for anyone trying to move a stolen chip, anyone who might test the system's limits. The casino's safeguards were not just about catching a criminal in the act. They were about making the loot itself too risky to spend. In Las Vegas, the real power is not in the chips or the cash, but in the invisible web that binds them to the house. At 2:58 a.m., a figure in a black motorcycle helmet stepped into the Bellagio's high-limit gaming area. Security cameras locked onto him instantly, their time codes ticking in the corner of each frame. The man moved with purpose, weaving through the late-night crowd toward the Gold Rush craps table. Dealers glanced up as he approached, but the helmet and dark jacket gave nothing away. At 3 a.m., the man drew a .38 caliber handgun and leveled it at a security officer. In that frozen moment, the casino's overlapping camera angles captured every detail: the grip on the weapon, the startled faces, the silent exchange between the gunman and the dealer. The chip tray was within reach. He demanded high-denomination chips, $25,000 cranberries, $5,000 purples, and $1,000 yellows, and the dealer complied, hands shaking as stacks slid across the felt. By 3:04 a.m., the robber had swept roughly $1.5 million in chips into a bag. The silent alarm tripped at 3:05 a.m., time-stamped by the surveillance system and matched to the radio logs. Security officers converged on the gaming floor, but the masked man was already moving toward a side exit. At 3:07 a.m., he vanished through a service door, crossing the threshold as the cameras caught his last steps inside the Bellagio. Outside, a black motorcycle waited on Paradise Road. Within seconds, he was gone, leaving behind a trail of digital breadcrumbs and a timeline that would become the backbone of the investigation. The entire heist, from entrance to escape, played out in just 9 minutes, each second preserved in the casino's relentless electronic memory. The service door on the east side of the Bellagio swung open at 3:07 in the morning, and a black motorcycle roared onto Paradise Road. The city's surveillance network picked up the trail almost immediately. Traffic cameras at the intersection of Flamingo and Paradise clocked the bike at 70 miles per hour, a blur cutting through the empty streets. Patrol units, already on alert from the casino's silent alarm, began scanning dispatch logs for any sign of the suspect. Radio chatter bounced between officers as the motorcycle shot northbound, weaving past the glow of streetlights and the fading neon of late-night diners. At each major intersection, City cameras captured quick, grainy glimpses. A helmeted rider hunched low, duffel bag slung tight, never slowing down. The license plate, partially visible in several frames, gave investigators their first concrete lead. Within minutes, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's casino alert system pinged every patrol car in the area. Units from the MGM Grand, Paris, and Caesars Palace received the suspect's description and the direction of travel. On a side street near Sahara Avenue, a traffic officer caught sight of the bike but lost it as the rider disappeared into the maze of city blocks. The escape route was not just a straight shot out of danger. It became a digital breadcrumb trail, each image and radio transmission adding to the evidence chain. The city's surveillance web, designed for everyday order, now served as the backbone of a sprawling investigation. Each camera, each dispatch log, pushed the search beyond the casino's walls and into the heart of Las Vegas itself. Each $25,000 chip stolen from the Bellagio carried more than just a face value. The chips were engineered with a suite of security features that turned them into forensic evidence the moment they left the table. At first glance, the matte gold surface and double star motif set these chips apart, but the real safeguards were almost invisible. Micro-printed serial numbers, so small they could only be read under magnification, ran along the edge of each token. These serials were unique, each one tied to a specific entry in the Bellagio's central inventory system. Under ultraviolet light, the chips revealed hidden patterns, ghosted designs, and embedded MGM logos that fluoresced in blue and green. Dealers and cashiers used handheld scanners to check these marks, but the most advanced layer was sealed inside the plastic. Passive RFID tags, about the size of a grain of rice, were embedded in every high-denomination chip. Each tag broadcast a unique digital code when scanned, matching the chip to its database record and logging every movement across the casino floor. When the robbery occurred, Bellagio's security team immediately flagged the serial numbers and RFID signatures of the stolen chips. Within hours, those identifiers were circulated to every casino in Nevada. Any attempt to cash out a $25,000 chip triggered a silent alert, sometimes before the person even reached the cage. Investigators now had a digital breadcrumb trail, following each chip's signature through the city's network of surveillance and redemption logs. What looked like a stack of anonymous tokens was, in reality, a collection of personalized fingerprints, each one pointing directly back to the crime. Anthony Carleo was 29 years old when he walked into the Bellagio that night. At first glance, he did not fit the part of a Hollywood villain. He was the son of George Assad, a respected Las Vegas judge, and had grown up surrounded by the city's rituals and temptations. But beneath the surface, Carleo was fighting a losing battle with gambling. Court records later revealed a pattern of mounting losses, stretches where he dropped tens of thousands of dollars in a matter of weeks, debts that kept piling up faster than he could repay them. Casino loyalty logs documented losing streaks of $30,000 or more in a single month. The addiction was not just about money. Friends and family described a restless energy, a need for the thrill that came with every roll of the dice. By the end of 2010, Carleo's debts had reached $120,000, spread across multiple casinos and private lenders. The pressure was relentless. Defense filings painted a picture of a man cornered by his own compulsions, convinced that the only way out was to win big or disappear. Desperation shaped his every move in the weeks leading up to the heist. The robbery was not a calculated scheme by a master criminal. It was the last reckless gamble of someone who believed the city owed him one more chance at the high rollers table. On a cold January night, the stakes shifted from the casino floor to a quiet table at the deli on East College Avenue. The operation had been set in motion days earlier, when a confidential informant told police he could arrange a deal for the missing Bellagio chips. Detectives moved fast. They needed proof, something more than rumors and surveillance footage. So they sent in an undercover officer, posing as a high roller looking to buy what nobody else would touch. The meeting was arranged for January 20th, 2011. Surveillance logs show the suspect arrived just after 9 o'clock, helmet in hand, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. The tension in the room was thick. On the table, a single $25,000 chip sat between the undercover officer and the suspect, a matte gold token, unmistakable in its value and its risk. The conversation was recorded from start to finish. The officer asked about the chips. The suspect, careful but eager, offered them for a steep discount, $125,000 for the remaining stash, no questions asked. Every word, every gesture was captured on tape. This wasn't just a transaction. It was the turning point. The moment the chip changed hands, investigators had what they needed. The serial number matched the Bellagio's stolen inventory. The evidence was now irrefutable. The investigation had moved from suspicion to probable cause. The net was closing, and the suspect didn't even know it yet. Anthony Carleo's run ended on February 1st, 2011. That night, Las Vegas police watched as he tried to bring stolen chips back to the Bellagio. The moment he placed a high-value chip on the table, the casino's audit system flagged it. Officers moved in, and Carleo was taken into custody without a struggle. The arrest affidavit, filed minutes later, described him as carrying $125,000 in chips linked by serial number and RFID tag to the robbery. At the Clark County Jail, Carleo's booking photo was time-stamped just after 11 p.m. The next morning, he stood before the judge in courtroom 201, facing charges of armed robbery, burglary, and possession of stolen property. Court records from his arraignment show Carleo entering a not guilty plea, but the evidence left little room for maneuver. The prosecution laid out a chain of forensic proof, surveillance footage, chip serials, and the undercover tapes from the sting. Each detail tied him closer to the crime. In the months that followed, Carleo changed his plea. The transcript of his guilty plea, entered in July 2011, captured a different tone, less bravado, more resignation. Judge Jeffrey Brennan handed down a sentence of 9 to 27 years in state prison, with a minimum of 9 years before parole. A restitution order for $250,000 followed. In court, the judge called the crime a reckless act that put lives at risk for the illusion of easy money. The story that began with a cinematic dash across the casino floor ended in a stark, windowless courtroom, with the consequences spelled out in years, not chips. Las Vegas casinos now embed microchips and track every high-value bet, but the illusion of a perfect system shatters with every new scheme. Even in a city built on risk, desperation finds cracks that technology can't seal. The Bellagio heist proves that security evolves, but human flaws persist. In the end, the house always recalibrates, because the stakes never really leave the floor. Share your thoughts in the comments below.